I built this escape room powered by these tiny microbit computers and took it along to the Evolution Scout Camp to challenge teams of Cub Scouts and Brownies to solve a series of puzzles and challenges. Hi, I'm Andy, and in this video we'll run through how this all works and follow along with the teams as they solve puzzles and complete challenges to try and get their spaceship back into the skies.
On our way!
The game starts with a push of the big red button, and the teams will need to follow the instructions which appear here on the control computer. The first instruction is to refill the fuel tank. Now the rocket fuel is locked away with this combination lock. To work out the code and unlock the combination, they're going to need to solve the puzzles on these robots. Now each one has a different puzzle that makes use of a different microbit feature. The microbit is absolutely ideal for this as it has all sorts of different features and functionality that are perfect for creating puzzles.
Upside down.
A.
That's an A.
This one's the easiest one. It has a really simple clue on the back. It says hold A and B, and it can be solved by holding down the A and the B buttons. That shows a letter on the screen, and when the teams put all the robots in order based on those letters saying A, B, C, D, that gives them the code to unlock the rocket fuel.
Let me do it, I'm really good with locks.
Ah, well done.
Unlocking the combination lock gives them access to the rocket fuel, which they can then bring over to the fuel tank. They're going to need to pour the fuel into the tank here, get it up to the right level, and when the microbit using this moisture sensor detects there's enough fuel in the tank, it will send a message back to the control computer to tell it that that step has been completed.
Oh, stop.
The next step is to charge the battery. Teams will need to run around with this, and the microbit on top detects that motion, fills up the charge meter as they go. When they've charged it enough, they can move on to the next step. Most of the different steps in the escape room use the built-in radio in the microbit to communicate with each other. They all need to let the main control unit know when each of their individual steps has been completed, so it can tell the teams to move on. And this was actually part of the escape room that I was most worried about going wrong. I was really worried that the teams might complete one of the steps, for example charging the battery, and the message might get lost and not received by the control unit. In the end, I didn't really need to worry about this too much because it seemed like the radios were pretty reliable, but what I did do was create a cheat code microbit that would allow me to resend any of the messages and get the escape room back on track for the teams in the case that there had been an issue. And that helped me a few times, like for example when the teams were too rough with the battery and shook it so hard that the real batteries fell out on the inside. Once they filled up the fuel tank and charged the battery, that turns on the power for the rest of the escape room, and they'll then be able to use the navigation computer. That will give them a set of sensor readings, and they'll then need to solve this puzzle to work out which planet they're on.
It can't be Vesper. It's 10 to 30, it can't be Vesper.
Once they've worked out which planet they're on, they can then set a course, working out the distance and the direction to get them back to Space HQ. And they enter that into the computer using these two dials.
North.
North at the top, which way are you going?
East. Yes, got it.
I should talk about these boxes for a second, which are made from laser cut wood and are designed to hold a microbit in the top, which plugs into an expansion board, and that lets us plug in all these extra components like the dials, this sensor, and all of these buttons that you see on the other unit. And I want to say a huge thank you to my friend Adrian, who put these designs together and cut it all out with his laser cutter. The next step for the teams is to send a message back to Space HQ to let them know they are on their way. And they do this by yelling as loud as they can into the microphone.
On our way! On our way!
This step uses the microphone that's built into the microbit to pick up when the teams are shouting. Actually, some of the teams were so noisy they had finished this step before they'd even realised what they were meant.
Run away! Hey! Hey!
We're into the final step now, and with another whack of the big red button, the teams will now have to frantically follow a set of instructions that are going to appear on both of the screens at the same time. And these instructions will be telling the teams to do things on the other units, so cooperation and teamwork are really important at this stage. Teams are going to have to push these buttons, twist the dials, flick this giant switch. This step was a bit complicated with lots of different stages to it, so I used Python to write the code for it. I'm not going to dig into the code in this video, but if you're interested in seeing more, it's all up in GitHub and I'll put a link down in the description. And when the teams have finished all the launch steps, the final push of the big red button completes the game and their time is shown here on this screen, ready to be added to the leaderboard. I've run this activity a few times now, and I've always been really pleased to have some great feedback from people who've taken part, with some even wanting to do the escape room all over again immediately after finishing it. There are some things I'd like to improve though. For example, the step where they have to solve the puzzles, working out where they are, and setting the course is still a little bit clunky. It requires quite a lot of reading, and I'd like to put more of that into the device itself. So you're reading from the screen rather than from a separate sheet of paper. I also think it would be fantastic to add some lighting and sound effects to bring the whole thing to life a lot more. I had loads of fun building this escape room, and while it looks quite complicated, the microbit actually makes it super easy to build your own puzzles and challenges for your friends. And if you'd like to have a go at making one of these robots, I've written up step-by-step instructions for you to follow on my website. Have a look in the description for the link and let me know what you make. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this interesting, and please leave me a comment letting me know how you're going to use the microbit to build an interesting challenge or puzzle for your friends. See you next time.